in this video, I'm excited to show you how to create a fast API server with Semantic Kernel, all using Azure with managed identity, credential, and authentication. So let's jump right into it. So I have here a Visual Studio Code IDE where I have everything set up. So you have the requirements. So here's what we need to do. We need to install the Semantic Kernel library. We need to have, I'm not sure, I don't think we need pandas, but we definitely need fast API as a library, and also UVCore to for the server. So that's what I have. And then you need a prompt, because when you work with AI agents, you need a prompt to be set up. And for the prompt, let's assume that I want to create um, a joke API, for example. So what I have is write exactly one joke of humorous story about the topic below. So the joke must be G-rated, workplace family safe, and all other specifics. Be creative and funny, and I want to laugh. Incorporate your style suggestion if provided. So these are two parameters, and we're going to talk more about those two parameters. You have the style, and then you have the input. When we jump into the code, I'm going to show you exactly how to use those two parameters. And by the way, sometimes you will see people using JinJa files, which is fine. If you very familiar with JinJa, no problem. You can always use a .jinja file to call your prompt from the semantic kernel framework. But with TXT file, you're perfectly fine. And then what I have here is a JSON file. Let me show you what this is all about. So this is a JSON file, and if you have heard previously about function calling, you may be familiar with this structure, right? So what you want to keep in mind here is that you have the two variables that we're just referring to, which are the inputs and the style, which are pretty much the parameter, and then the description is pretty much to show what each input variable is about. So again, style and input. Now for the style, it's really up to you how you want to define your style, right? You can put the kind of humor you want, or you can put anything else you want as a parameter. You can even have more than two parameters if you want to. Why do we need this kind of configuration, this kind of function calling configuration? So this is specific to OpenAI, but I believe it can be used for other models as well. But what's great about this is that it allows you to pretty much save on token, and it kind of generates faster processing for the model to respond, and it help you save cost also. So all these optimizations are very helpful. Not only that, but it gives you more precise results for your from your prompt. So you definitely want to have that as part of your as far as your API server. All right, so all this is put under a plugin joke. And what let me explain you what a plugin is in semantic kernel. A plugin is pretty much what's is pretty much a tool, and you can customize the tool however you want to. You can have a plugin for statistics, a plugin for charting, a plugin for what else? Whatever tool you want to create in the custom way, right? So you create a function, and then you pass that function as a plugin into the AI agent. Let's jump into what we really want, and let's start with some coding. So let me start my terminal. So I'm going to use the command prompts. The first thing we need to do, friend, is to build a virtual environment. So I'm going to start with virtual env, and I'm going to call my virtual environment VNV AI. All right, so the virtual environment has been created, and from there, I open the virtual environment, cd.vnvai/script to activate the virtual environment. And you can see here that my virtual environment is activated because I'm under this .vnvai. Okay, so what do we do from there? I go back to the root folder. And here is where I am. All right, so I'm under the backend folder because I want to create a fast API server. Now, what do I need? I need all the libraries, right? But for the library that I want, I'm not going to worry about pandas right now because I don't need pandas. But I'm going to need the semantic kernel library, the fast API, and the UVCon library. So, uh, what do I do here? I need to do pip install -r requirements .txt. So what this is going to do is going to install all the libraries that I need for my server. So it's going to take just a few seconds for all this to run. While this is running, let's see what else we will need. Okay, so I can walk you through this code real quick. So logging, we're not going to use logging much, even though we could have. The request is to pass the prompt into the semantic kernel. We're going to see the codes at the bottom. The middleware is always needed when you try to create a fast API or any API, right? For security purposes. Then you need the kernel library, and that's part of the setup of the semantic kernel AI agent. You then need the chat completion. We're gonna get to the connection using managed identity instead of key, which is a great way of dealing with Azure nowadays. Um, and then you will need the Azure identity, the managed identity get bearer token provider. So this is going to create a token for you, and that token will be passed into the agent who will be able to connect to Azure properly. What else we need? The kernel argument. The kernel argument is going to be needed because you need to be able to pass the two parameters that we talked about, which are the style and let me go back again and remember you have the style and the input itself, right? So as far as the argument, so this is definitely going to be needed. Now, dependency, of course, if you create fast API, you should be familiar with Pydantic. It is a way for you to validate every data model that you pass into fast API. You already have OS, um, and then I'm gonna need the async library that help you create a fast API in a very async way. Um, so all that being said, you will need also um, a .env file, and the .env file is for you to secure and store your secret and whatever you don't want to be disclosed or exposed on your code. So the .env file should have been somewhere. I don't see it, but let me create it real quick. .env. All right, now the .env file should have these two. Let's see. I'm gonna capture the .env file from somewhere else. Just okay. So I'm gonna take this and show you what the env file, the .env file should have. Okay, so it's not here. I'm going to go somewhere to grab that real quick. All right, so this is what my .env file should have. I'm gonna copy these and paste it here. All right. So this is my .env file. Now, what you will need also, I think we have everything set up for you, and this is going to be the deployment name, and this is going to be the endpoint name. Now, where do I see these two elements? If you go to your Azure portal, right? Let me put Azure portal sign in. I'm going to show you exactly where to find those two. So here is it's not exactly here. Let me change the directory. This is mine here. Let me authenticate. All right. So we're getting there. I just need to show you how to get your whatever you need from Azure. So it's asking me to authenticate. Let me do that quickly. All right. So there you go. I need to enter 66. I'm in. Now I'm authenticating. By the way, Azure is very secure, which is the reason why I really love using this cloud system. So as you can see, this is the name of my endpoint. You can see that here, right? Where do you find what you need to authenticate with your or to connect with Azure OpenAI? You need the endpoint, which is pretty much here, which I copy from here, and you need the Azure OpenAI deployment name. Where do I find it? If I go back to overview, you go to the Azure AI Foundry portal, you will be able to see the model. And I had the deployments here. So you can see 404 dash mini or 4 dash mini. I made it very easy because I have the same name as a deployment and the model name. So to make it easy for myself, that's how I chose it to be that way. All right. So with that being said, you need the Azure subscription, you need OpenAI setup, a resource for OpenAI setup. And once you have that, I think you should be good to go. So let's go back to the that main.py, and then in order for your code to work, right? So you will definitely need to make sure that the environment variable are configured into your system. What do I mean by that? So what I need to do here is make sure that you probably want to use the anything, but I will use the git bash for now. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna do exports, and then I'm going to copy paste these environment variable because they need to sit on your computer, right? So once you have them pasted, you should be fine. So export and then the environment variable. So I'm going to do the same thing that I did for the endpoint for the model, right? And then from here, what you want to do is go to your computer and type environment variables. You want to edit your environment variables. And from your environment variables, you want to make sure that you have all this set up for yourself. So the first thing that we did was the Azure OpenAI endpoint. I have my Azure OpenAI endpoint here, as you can see. Um, I have the variable name, pass, and then the value, right? I'm going to do the same thing for the deployment name. Okay, all this is done. But if you want to do it on your PC, all you have to do is click on new and add those the name and the value here. All right, done with that. Now we can go ahead and go back to the codes and make sure that everything is working fine. So we have the environment variable loaded. Then what do we need? We need the Fast API app to be running as well. So I have the app equals Fast API created. Then I need to put the middleware, and the middleware is very important in the sense that you need to allow some UI to be able to call, or it can be anything else. It can, but here we are going to use a UI to be able to call the fast API server, and that UI need to be operator. If you want everything to be to be calling your service, fine, you can just put a star. But for now, I'm just gonna put this local host with port 3000 because I'm gonna use a Next.js at the end to not at the end of this lecture, but another one to call the fast API server into the Next.js UI. All right, and then allow credential, true allow method, and allow header. All this is needed for the middleware. Now that I'm done with the middleware, it's time for me to create the model. So all I need is to create a pedantic based model where I have the prompt as a parameter and I want it to be a string. All right, and now the important part come where I create the post request. Let me uncomment that part. All right, so what do I have in the post request? I define my agent. I have the chat request pedantic model that I put together, and then this parameter is going to be used at the bottom of the async function. Now we talked about the managed identity authentication. So a lot of time we use keys, right, to authenticate and then we pass those keys in the environment variable or the environment folder of the fast API or whatever server we want to build. But you know, dealing with a lot of keys can be problematic, and you're gonna have to deal with all these authentication and security issues. In order to mitigate that as much as possible, it's always a better practice to use managed identity. Managed identity are kind of secretless connections to Azure resources, which we are doing here. For instance, here we just get this default Azure credential is authenticating, has three type of authentication. I'm not going to talk too much about that, but it does have three type of authentication. It has the environment authentication, the managed identity authentication, and the CLI authentication. So it's going to take a specific order and try to authenticate from any of these three in a specific order, which I don't remember exactly, but it's going to find for sure one of the ways to authenticate. Here, most likely, since I'm on my PC, most likely is going to use the managed identity because I'm connected also remotely to Azure. So, um, and here, the token provider uh, variable we take the token using the Azure default credential, and then that token will be passed here into the Azure chat completion, which is pretty much the semantic kernel um, class. And what do I need for the class? You need the service ID. You can define the service ID as defaults or however you want to call that service ID. Then you have the token provider that will be passed on the AI, the AD token provider parameter. If you are using a key, no worries. You can always have API key API underscore key and pass your key there. As a matter of fact, for those who want to use a key, it's pretty straightforward. You just copy this key and then paste it in the environment variable here, and you should be good to go. All right. So, but I'm not gonna worry about key right now. What I want to do is use managed identity because it's a simpler. It's just making it way simpler. Then I have my other environment variable, which is the Azure OpenAI deployment name, which is in the environment file. Excuse me. And then I have my endpoint, which I already talked about, which is also in the environment file. Then I have my API version. API version sometimes is tricky to find because you're gonna have to look. It's not directly posted on the AI Azure Foundry when you deploy an Azure OpenAI model. So you're gonna have to do a little bit of research to find the right API version. All right. So the kernel, what does the kernel have? The kernel take like the plugins, right? And we talk about plugins, but let me talk a little bit more about that. So um, I have the plugin that I created, which is Fun plugin. This is pretty much uh, from the pretty much the prompts and the configuration, which I've put together here. You could have created a plugin a different way by using a function, but for this one, it's pretty simple. I just want some input variable and put these two parameters, right? The input and the style. So these two elements will be now used as part of the plugin, and we define whatever task the AI agent need to perform, and it's pointing to the directory that we have already defined. Now, the plugin is called from here. All right. And then that plugin is now used at the invoke step, right? So um, is right here. So you have the joke function that's being created here, and then that joke function is then passed as you need it. So from here, what do you need? You have your joke function in the in the invoke method, and you have the request which is coming from the prompts that you will have sent from um, from your query to the fast API server. And then the style, which is I want the style my style to be super silly. So these are the two parameters that I was talking about, right? That you can always modify in the JSON configuration file. So these two are going to be the parameters that will be used in the kernel argument for you to invoke. So you pretty much have everything that you need for your AI agent. Um, you have the prompt, right? Which is the input, and then you have the plugin that the AI agent needs for him to perform the action. Now the rest with that is pretty simple. You just create your response. I don't need to print it, and then this is how my response should turn out to be. And then from here, what I will need is to run the fast API server. Now, what do I need to run the fast API server? It's pretty simple. You need to launch the UVcorn. Um, you need to launch the UVcorn command. So we're gonna do UVcorn, and then the file is called main, and then we're gonna have app, and then we're gonna do dash dash reloads, and this is going to load our fast API server, and from there we should be able to see the server live for us. All right, so this is leading us to this HTTP link that we are going to click. Okay, error with app module in module main. We cannot, it cannot find it. So I think I'm gonna have to go one row down. So I have, let's see what I have. Fast API SK. Let me see if I can open a new terminal. Okay. To find out what's going on. So I have Fast API SK backend. Fast API SK backend. Let me see where it is. Okay. Fast API SK backend. Let me see what's inside. Okay, I do have my main.py, which is good. And let me remember what was the issue. Okay, app not found in the module main. So it's not finding the app main app. Okay, there you go. So that's what was missing. We're gonna activate it. So this is going to take an async run with the port 8000, and this is the app that he was complaining about that it was not finding. So we're gonna relaunch this. There you go. So let's go back to the page and let's refresh it. So now it's working, and let's run the doc. So from here, what do we have? We have the chat with agents. So we have pretty much our post request, and the post request. If you're not familiar with Fast API or any server, you have the different type of requests. You have get request, post request, put, and patch and delete. Post request, you send a request. That's the post request is mostly done for any LLM or generative AI. So you send any input and you're expecting to receive an output back. So most likely you're gonna get post request. You're gonna be dealing with post request when for this type of exercise. Now let's try our server. It's live already. So let's click on try it out, and I'm gonna say tell me a joke. All right. And I'm gonna wait for the server to function. Let's wait a little bit more. You should see something happening. And there you go. We have the response. So this is the joke that we asked for, and Stanley, the stapler, had the secret left. Blah blah blah. So it looks like it's working, and we have a response 200. Okay, which means that our server is functioning properly. So that's pretty much what this is about. And just to show you a little bit about Azure, how I created those resources. If you don't have any Azure subscription, you can create one, or you can have one for yourself. You have I have a resource. I had a resource group. If I go back to overview, I had the resource group, and from the resource group, you can go about creating any resources. So from the resource group, you create an open AI instance, and that OpenAI instance will take you. You follow the prompt for the OpenAI instance, and you should be good to go. As far as the yeah, that's what you pretty much what you need to be able to go forward with this exercise. So this video, I'm hoping, was helpful to you. If you a developer, software engineer, data scientist, or even data analyst or data engineer, and you want to create some robust API server and pass them on the UI, I hope this video will be helpful to you. If you a manager using Azure, or a owner of an AI agency, I hope this video will be helpful to you. Here's what I have for you. If you watch my YouTube at the end of my YouTube video, or at the bottom, you will see a link that will point you to a free PDF file where I show you, if you're interested in a data science career, you can look at the checklist and find out the skills that you need from beginner to medium all the way to advanced. So you'll be able to tell, if you've been a data scientist for a while, you'll be able to tell what you will need to sharp your skills. If you are new to the data science field and you switch from another career to the data science career, you'll be able to see from A to Z what skills you will need to be where you need to be. And all this just focus in Azure, because I help companies um, achieve their goals using Azure, which is a very secure cloud system, and using AI and data. So if you want to build any infrastructure for your company, I have a lot of videos. If you subscribe to my channel and subscribe to and get my free PDF book, my free PDF file, you will be able to get a lot of content going forward. And I will show you how to build more AI agent, and more how to use Azure in general. So I hope you love this video. Give me a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel, and feel free to join my list if you want more content like that. Thank you very much, and have a great day. Bye.